Welcome to the Digital Forester podcast, where we speak to forestry leaders and innovators who are shaping the future of forestry. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Digital Forester podcast. Today, I'm joined by Carlos Albuquerque. He's the CEO of INFLOR. Carlos, how are you doing today?
Hello, Kevin. Hello, everyone. I'm doing great, and it's a great opportunity to be here with you just talking about forest.
For sure. Now, I'm in Ottawa, Canada, where it's winter, it's cold. I have probably 6 feet of snow. Tell me where I'm reaching you and what the winter conditions are like where you are.
Oh, it's almost the same. I'm in Vitória, Espírito Santo. Here, I believe now it's nice. We are about 30 degrees Celsius in the
Wow.
middle of the summer, so it's hot, but it's quite nice.
For sure. So Victoria in Brazil, about an hour flight northeast of Sao Paulo for those listeners, audience of a geographic mind, and clearly not snowing if it's 30 degrees. And you and I have chatted. It's more of a humid hot, right? Not a dry hot being right on the coast. Is that
Yeah,
correct? And
yeah.
and you love the humidity, right?
Exactly. It's humidly hot, and here in Victoria we had a lot of wind too because it's a sea coast city, and this make this hot not so hot, and it's with a nice weather to live.
Great. So one thing I always love to do with our guests is kind of dig into their background, where they came from, what the connection is, how you got into forestry, and then we'll go into talking more about INFLOR as a company and what you do there. But maybe to start us off, family members were foresters, or tell me about the background. What did you study in undergrad? Was it still in Brazil? Maybe bring me up to speed in terms of your journey in the younger days, the younger Carlos.
Great. Yes, I study here. For my background is in computer science. I always love technology since the I was young, trying to do things in computer and try to build things. So I always loved this area. So I did my college and my graduation in computer science, and since 2008 I start to live this forest market. I joined in INFLOR in 2008, uh, become from another company that had a system in the portfolio that create and manage the relationship with the neighbors and the communities that works a lot with the forest business. And when INFLOR acquired this company, I start my history in INFLOR. So I live the forest market since 2008.
Interesting. So computer science, kind of technical, then brought into the world of forestry. Very interesting. And so the previous company, the one that INFLOR acquired, you were the leader, the CEO, founder of that company. So where did that uh entrepreneurship come from? Was that something that you always had, or was it something you grew up with, or maybe it was a natural progression of going to school, studying, had an idea? Walk me through that the early
Great.
days.
I believe that was a lot of. I had the opportunity to work together with very intelligent guys and very smart persons. So I start with in this company as an employee, but during my career progression, I had the opportunity to be part of the company, to be a shareholder, and at the end, I became the CEO of the company and the major shareholder of the company. So it's I really believe that together with a lot of smart persons and good persons, it will transform you in a better person too. So examples was a big thing that I always look for, and that I believe a lot to share to a lot of examples. So the idea to create the company or to be uh, a guy that owns a company and create solution came for that, to be together with another persons that already started this, and we share this idea.
Right, right. Amazing. Well, there is that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go
Exactly.
together. And certainly having lots of smart people around makes that journey a lot easier and maybe more fun. So
Yeah.
very cool. So bring us forward, I guess, to the present. So your company got acquired, you worked for INFLOR, but to date, this sounds like not a trained forester. I'm not a trained forester, but this is Brazilian forestry. So I think it's worthwhile to pause because I know a lot of digital forester podcast guests have been from North America or Australia, New Zealand, or even Europe as an example, or other regions. Truthfully, the audience is quite broad for this platform, but forestry in Brazil is different. I know I've traveled there a few times. Um, it's different. Can you walk us through or give a summary of what Brazilian forestry looks like with eucalyptus plantations or E02 plantations and what that looks like? Because it does operate at a very different scale. Even the number of trucks that have to roll through that mill gate, right, is kind of crazy. But maybe take a moment and introduce us to what Brazilian forestry means to you, and then afterwards we can clarify, what are some similarities and maybe differences with other types of forestry around the world.
Great, great. I believe you talk about a point that it's quite important here in Brazil, that it's scale. When we talk about forests in Brazil, we are talking about short cycle forests that we plant. It's major eucalyptus with 6 or 7 years of rotation, and in big areas. So when we look for that scenario, one of things that in floor, and just linking the two information, one of the major concepts that we had in the system when we create the system was, why not pick up all the concept that we already use for industry and bring to manage forest too. It's a forest, it's a biological asset, but the scale, it's huge. So why we can not group everything and create a standard that can group similar characteristics and try to create a pattern to discover or to manage what needs to be done in what time, with the exact amount of material, and that we can manage, control, and make actions in advance. So if we look for forest in Brazil, we will look a lot for this kind of things, scale. We are talking about, when we talk about planted forest, about more than 10 millions of hectares of forests that are planted and that are managed. So it's a lot of operations, and since the beginning, since silviculture, but through all the forest chain, silviculture, harvesting, transportation, and so on. We are talking much about the scale.
Yeah, that's amazing. 10 million hectares, rotation, you said 6 to 7 years, which,
Exactly.
being in Canada, ain't nothing grow that quick. So, quite amazing there. Yeah. So maybe introduce us to Inflor. So your company, as you mentioned, you're part of that. Inflor acquired that and software around stakeholder engagement, and we can chat more about that in a moment. But maybe introduce us to who Inflor is, the history of the Inflor. You're the chief executive officer, CEO of Inflor. I believe there are some other partners that started it, but maybe give us a history course on Inflor, how
Great.
Inflor came to be and who it is today.
Great. I always joke that we created the company, or the founders created the company, in the best way to create a solution inside a client. So they started to build our solution inside a big player in Brazil that in that days was called Aracruz Celulose, nowadays Suzano. And they had the opportunity to discuss the process and to create a system that managed all the forest chain since the beginning, to choose the land, to choose the soil use, from silviculture, harvesting, and to deliver wood into the mill yard. So they created what we call a forest management system. It's or with some other guys call like operational ERP for forest that controls each step, what needs to be done, and the interaction between the operational part and the financial part too, that it's so important for the companies. This bring a lot of things for the clients when we talk about the compliance, when we talk about the traceability, when we talk about the control of the asset. So this it was how we born. And but most, I believe that most interesting thing here is that in that time, INFLOR was created in 2001, but since 2001 until now, we had a lot of companies that were created here in South America, a lot of mill yards that were created, and we had a really good opportunity to be together with them, discussing about forest process and about what it's the difference between one client and another, what work and what not work, and this experience about what we already saw that works for forest management, and what was an experience that not works so well. We tried to bring to our solution in a simpler way, as a baseline that all the clients can be part or use this knowledge to manage their forests.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And so thinking of the customer base of INFLOR, doing my research, obviously strong in Brazil, South America, but there's clients in North America as well, Europe, even China, I think. Um, are there commonalities that you found in terms of the FMS and the appeal to these other geographies? I know you mentioned the tight integration with the ERPs and the financials. Do you think that's something unique to Brazil or South American forestry, or is that something that you see being generalized to a lot of these other geographies that you're working in today?
We had a lot of common process in South America, in Europe, in China, and in United States too. But of course, when we each client that we deliver our system, we do the assessment or the discussion about the process and what we are bringing. And we always have the opportunity to see the peculiarities about that place or that culture or that way to plant forests. And we always try to make this learning and bring to the system as a parameter or a way of use of our system. Not to create a unique solution per client, but one unique solution that can be create parameters to be used in different ways. And that's the reason that we nowadays we had clients for pulp. We had clients that are TMOs. We had clients that are had energy, bioenergy for carbon market. So that are the vision that we had to pick up the difference for different regions, but creating a way that everyone can use it. In United States was interesting because we had some parts of United States that are more similar than Brazil, and others that are quite different. Mainly when we talk about the scale of silviculture, for example. So we created simplified versions of our system to not pass through the client all the steps that's necessary to be done here in Brazil, because in their scenario need to be more simple. So that's the way that we did, and that's the way that we create this knowledge and this baseline.
Yeah, yeah. And so for our listeners, can you give us a sense of how big INFLOR is, from an employee point of view? Is it a small company of 10 people? Is it a large company? What's the head count, just as a proxy for the size of business you
Yeah.
guys you guys
Yeah.
do?
Nowadays, we had about 120 people, uh, mainly here in Brazil, but not in one place only. We had guys outside Brazil too, because, for example, as we support clients in China, we need to have some flexibility in the time to support them, but it's major on Brazil. But nowadays we had about 120 people.
Wow, wow. So big organization at 120. Amazing. Congratulations. Thinking of forestry, I guess, and I heard you mention Inflor and even your previous company, early 2000s. Are there any key defining moments in time from early 2000s to now in forestry that you would say really influenced or shaped the direction that Infor went, whether from a technology or people or strategy? Are there a couple things that are crystal clear where you're like, oh, I remember that, and we decided to go this way? If there are any, which are the ones that you would share?
I believe that we have two or three major points, and not related to the same thing. Considering our history, I can see that the first point was in the beginning, as the all the big clients trying to do all this management and all this control by themselves, and create a different solution or an in-house solution to manage everything. And as soon as we created and start to do this kind of projects, and one client, and at least in Brazil, the forest companies discuss a lot about technology, or about a lot of things that they can share. They saw opportunity to create a solution that can be shared and can be growth together with them. So in the first moment, we did a lot of rollover of our solution from another client. But in 2008, we decided to create one unique solution and provide not only the technology, but the baseline that we learned from all the clients inside this solution. So this was a first key change that we had here in Floor, that okay, let's offer for the market all the knowledge that we learned from the last 7 years, for example, in a software as a service way that not only the big players can achieve, but the medium players can use it too in a simple way. That this is was, I believe, the first thing. The second thing, and it's more about the technology, because in the beginning, we had a lot of restrictions, considering communication in the field, considering telematics, considering mobile devices that are so expensive, that devices that need to be protected by rain and so on, and too expensive. And when you talk about a big clients that, for example, when this idea of the tablets and cell phones started, and the prices are so cheap considering the old device, we had clients that had more than 1,000 cell phones in the forest, just to report silviculture operations or to report some events that happen in the field. So this was a key change too, but only a part of key change for technology. After that, we had the barrier that was broke by the communication, because in the beginning we had to be, and it's interesting because we had to be creative, creating solutions that can share information through a lot of steps, by using Bluetooth from one cell phone to another, using another way to communicate for machinery and so on. Nowadays, these barriers are broken, so we had a live communication, and we can create much more rich solutions considering data and considering real time. And with this information, we go for the next step, that is have a lot of sensors, a lot of telematics automation, imagery that was so expensive in the beginning, nowadays are affordable for the major clients for processing image and so on. So I believe the technological barrier, considering costs, are being broken, and this will create a lot of space for a lot of innovation to change the way that we manage forests right now.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of those barriers that you talked about are no longer barriers. And I'm also
Exactly.
hearing that given the scale of forestry, there's a lot of technology that this podcast has talked about with other guests, LiDAR, drones, imagery, telematics. Like it sounds like that is all being used today in forestry in Brazil and probably in South America in general, versus maybe some folks think there's some geographies that are maybe lagging behind a little
Mhm.
bit in technology adoption. I'm not hearing that from you, but maybe the opposite, where a lot of these things are being fully embraced, and maybe that makes sense given the scale of operations, forestry operations that you talked about. One thing I wanted to kind of dig into a little bit is you talked about the ERP side. So in other geographies, sometimes that integration isn't as, there's no requirement for a real tight integration. It sounds like in the INFLOR business that that's more common, that customers are asking for that. And maybe as you talked about the biological asset and the processes, it sounds like the processes are very well defined and you need to go through them and then codify that in an ERP. And if that's true, are there are is there a specific ERP that you prefer to work with, or does it really not matter because they're all kind of ERP objects and language that it really doesn't matter which one you use? INFLOR Force, the FMS can support any of them?
Yeah, no, we support any kind of ERP, because the concept itself for the ERP, it's quite the same. We are talking about contracts, we are talking about assets, we are talking about accountability, and so the concept it's the same. Of course, in forest business, at least here in South America, we had a big ERP that 90% of the companies use it, and of course it's much more common to have integration with this ERP, but the concept it's the same for everyone. And one thing it's interesting in that history is that the way that we connect with the ERP uh, improves a lot too. Not considering technology, but considering what need to be synchronized, because we have a very clear layer for operation, and we had the needs that the accountability and the financial components of the company wants. So you don't need to have the same detail of information in both sides. So the complexity to, okay, the forester need to know that I did an operation to prepare the soil for that area, and I use this material. And all the complexity to change this into Okay, I will create a work order in the ERP. I will do a material movement in ERP. I will collect costs and put in a biological asset in ERP. Need to be transparent for the client, and that the where we enter with this knowledge. It's almost like we just need to click a button or receive information from telemetry, and we will pick up all these things in these complex things and do in a simple way to translate this language to financial and accountability language.
Right, right. And so based on that, is it a safe assumption when we think about the forestry value chain, the INFLOR forest FMS really covers covers all of it? What's the best way to think about it? Is it that we have different modules that target different parts of the value chain, or maybe you can explain to our listeners and viewers what the FMS looks like, I guess, in a verbal way. What is it? Is it modules or is it something else, or how should I think about that?
Yeah, nowadays we call modules. With the idea is to break the forest chain in parts that the client can choose which part fits for their needs. Example, if we have a pulp company, normally they use all the modules to control all the steps that's necessary since the beginning to plant the forest until to deliver wood into the mill yard. But we had clients that are only plant the forest and sell the forest without cut for a third part company go there and cut the forest and use the forest for their own use. So this client can only choose the modules to plant the forest, to control the silviculture part, and so on. That was the idea, to fit the system because it's a big system to control each step, but fit with the client what client needs.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting. So definitely enterprise grade FMS capable of catering to the world's largest forestry customers, but also modular in the sense that if there's other actors that only need pieces or are
Exactly.
only playing in parts of the forestry value chain, that they can go ahead and do that. Very, very cool. And so one thing I'm curious to know, given that it's South American forestry, and I've been 4 or 5 times. And I remember I was at a conference. I'll tell the story, then give context. But there were um, a lot of younger demographics people that caught me off guard because in some other geographies of the world, we hear about workforce shortage. There's not enough talent. Thinking of Inflor having been around for early 2000s, that other trend elsewhere in the world? Do you see that in Brazil or South American forestry where it's older guys like us, or is that not much of an issue that there is a pool of young foresters, men and women that are eager to take on this business of forestry? What's the landscape look like on the people side?
I believe we had the same challenge here, Kevin. Not of I can see that we had younger people entering this market too, but I believe the challenge here is that the market are growing so quickly that these demands need to be fulfilled. So we are having new people, but the growth of the market are quicker than the growth of the resources. So it's always a challenge. Here it's a challenge too. How can we create more incentive for the younger people to be foresters or to be forestry engineers and so on. I believe it's not only forestry we had for other markets too, but this is a challenge. And the partnership between the companies and between the colleges and the science uh, uh, group it's so important. But it's a challenge too. We always see that good people are needed for the companies, and normally the companies always look for talent. But it's a challenge here in Brazil too.
Yeah, interesting. As we talk, I'm finding it interesting where the challenges elsewhere in the world
Yeah,
are there's overlap commonalities, the ones
yeah.
that you face in your space. Um, Thinking of Inflor today, before we shift to talk maybe more about the future, thinking of Inflor today, what's something that you're proud of about the company and the people that maybe our listeners and viewers may not know about? Is there a couple little fun facts, if you want to call it that, about Inflor that would be good to share with our listeners and audience?
Sure, sure. I believe one of the things that we are really proud, it's the way that our culture about people, about to have the people together, and we start the process, for example, for the certification about a great place to work in, I believe, in 2020, just to check and just to, it's much more related to understand more where we are considering the people management. And in the first year that we run the research, we received the certificate. And was interesting because pandemics was a challenge for everyone in the world. But all the people can see or can feel in that time how the company uh, uh, are worried with every employee, with uh, how they will work, if they are in a good shape, considering mentality, considering physical shape, and so on. And we created in that time one thing that it's a people committee to have a active listening for the employees that work in a very good way that we keep until now. So this is one of the things, considering people that we had proud to be for 6 year a company that is great place to work here in Brazil, here in
Amazing.
our state.
Amazing, amazing. So culture is important, and certainly from what I've experienced in Brazil, relationships are important. The people in general. I know when I was at a event in Brazil when I came back to Canada, my wife asked me how was it, and I said, I haven't hugged and kissed so many men and women in one day, and she kind of gave me a look of like, what? I'm like, no, it's just part of the culture, right? You kind of give high five, hands up, a little hug, and, en français, des bisous, and in Quebec, a couple of kisses on the cheek. It's very, very, emotional people,
Yeah,
kind-hearted people, and super fun. So yeah, amazing. Congratulations on being a great place to work 6 years there.
yeah.
That's an amazing accomplishment. So I want to shift you forward, maybe to look forward into the future. With this podcast, we always kind of look at where we are today, and then people love to hear our guest thoughts about the future. So maybe a couple rapid fire topics. Some will be from left field, right field, from up, down. I'll see if I can fluster you, but um, nobody in the world is immune to the United States and the president there and tariffs. Tell me, is this an issue in Brazil, or is it too far removed that it's not an issue, or you haven't felt it in forestry? Tell me more about how Brazil forestry and South American forestry, for that matter, thinks about the tariffs that come from the U.S.
Yeah, we here we had part of the market felt, part of the market not felt so much, because we, in the beginning of the discussion, all the companies will have taxes, and after a lot of discussion part of depending of the usage of the wood, uh, it will be increase the tariff tax or not. So of course anyone are immune to this kind of taxes. And as any company, the strategy are for the company, it's what's plan B. They always need to have a plan B for another market or for to use for internal market and so on. But yes, we had clients, for example, that from the first period felt a lot, and need to what is interesting in that, normally in that moment that all the clients or all the companies want to see inside and have the opportunity to increase efficiency, because if they had problems in one area, they need to find solution. Of course can be another market, of course can be another the plan B as we discussed, but always need to look from themselves and what I need to do to have more efficiency to replace this margin that I lost in the sale part.
So definitely impact. Some have felt it, others have
Yeah,
not. Always have a plan B. Everyone should always have a plan B in life and in business and all
exactly.
things, I suppose. So very interesting. So like other geographies, the decisions made elsewhere, especially in the US, can have a ripple down effect, but
Yeah.
forestry adapts. What about AI? Everybody talks about AI. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to Infor? How do you think about it? And is it something that your forestry customers and in general talk about, or do you think it's still too early and people aren't sure what it really means to them? Or are there more opinionated people out there that might be more bullish on the future of AI or maybe more bearish? How do you think about AI from your seat as CEO of Inflor?
Okay. I believe nowadays we talk much more about the possibility that we already implemented the all the because it's a very powerful tool, but it's not, we are not using uh, uh, 1% of the possibilities that we can use for AI. We can see all the clients talking about, but with fewer examples that the technology is already put in place and is already uh, have a scale to be shared with the entire market. But we had solutions that it's already ready for that. For example, we already saw AI for imagery processing uh, to find diseases and to in a quicker way than we had before. We had AI for to get insights considering the historical data that we have to make better decisions. But it's not yet, at least for we can check in the market. In a full potential in the companies. They it's always trying to find the right place to use it, but they are struggling a lot. And normally it's and for for a lot of reasons. One is that AI it's dependent from data, structured data in one place that can be read and used in a better way. So to create this intelligence or to put everything together to be used is not so easy, and it's a challenge that we are trying as a technological partner of the companies, and as all the I believe it's almost a duty that the technological companies need to solve for their clients to make this path easier for the clients and offer a final solution and not only a speech about AI. And this
Mm,
is one thing that I believe that the most advisors for the clients are working on it, working on, on
right.
that solution, and not to speak about the concept itself.
Yeah, no, for sure. And one thing I'm always curious about is when you look at the news just the other day, Tesla is suspending making the Model X and the Model S
Mhm.
cars because those factories are going to be used to make the Optimus robot. And then that makes me think, how far out are we in the world where we would have robot foresters working the field? I don't know. That's probably a broader discussion that a group of us can have over a soda pop. But I wanted to dig into a comment you made just earlier, where you said, putting it together is still a challenge. So I'm going to extrapolate that statement, and you correct me if I'm wrong. When we think about South American forestry, Brazilian forestry, the forestry value chain, um, even though rotation 6 to 7 sounds like the scale of operations moves very, very quickly at maybe a higher velocity than some of us in other geographies might appreciate. But is that forestry value chain like really, really connected? Like when you said, it still hasn't, we haven't put it all together. Are the challenges that we face in other geographies where data is not necessarily flowing, being used fully, there's still parts of the value chain that are opaque? We can't see into it. Is that the same in Brazil and South America forestry, or is it more technologies in use on the telemetry and other things? How would you describe the state of that forest or plantation forestry in this case, and the flow of data? Is it better than other jurisdictions?
Yeah. First, I would like to say that I share your idea about the forest, like it's almost like gamification, because nowadays we have technology for that. We can have sensors, we can have satellite, we can have a lot of information that in in a few years before we didn't have. So having this information, we can cross everything and we can be much more predictive and much more intelligent than we are right now. I truly believe that in a it's not in a long time we the we will be able to provide to our clients gamification of the forest to be more intelligent and to change the way that we manage forests. This is one thing. I believe here, Kevin, considering the South American market, that we had, considering the forest value as we had the scale, we already created a flow that everything is connected, and that we can link this data, and in a simple way, because if we change our harvest sequence, this will change the area that will be available for silviculture, that will change the number of seedlings that the nursery need to create for that amount, that period of the year. So as we created a concept and a process that is truly integrated, all these triggers normally a change in a action here will trigger a change of the plan for the next step of the chain. So this is not, it's not a challenge anymore, but we saw clients that have this control not in one only system, but in different systems, that with this scenario it's a challenge to connect everything. But if you already have this solution integrated, this data is there, and you can complete this data with all the telemetry and all the detail information about each step, and put it together. And with that power, we can provide a lot of usage of AI.
Very cool. Very cool. And along those lines, if I was to stretch your thinking far into the future, and so again, this is the digital forester. So we talk to forestry leaders and where they're innovating, but there's a technology underpinning to all the conversations. If we were to stretch Carlos's mind out, let's say 15 years, 20 years, how does forestry look to you? What does it look like? Is it more mechanized, automated? Is it more of the same, but different in other areas? How do you think about that? How do you, when you put your CEO hat on and you think about the far future and plan for it, are there certain themes that you think about at all?
Yeah, I believe when we imagine forests in the future, we will have much more mechanized operation. Just and this will have reflect in some things like, okay, we less risky for the employees because all the operation or the risk of the operation will be done by mechanized machinery. This is one thing. Other thing is that will be much more oriented for precision, because as we have much more data, much more imagery, the right amount of each material will be placed in the right amount in the right place, not on a sampling that nowadays we had some operation that we do a sampling and we do an average calculation and send the same amount of the material for the entire stand, for example. And in the future, we already have drones that can apply different amount of material in each point of the stand, but it will be much more used for the entire forest. We will be, as we are increasing the quality of the information, for example, for weather, it will be much more predictive. Which kind of operation will we do in that moment in the forest, or reduce a lot of risks about fire, about disease, and so on. So as we had much more information, we can make all the things in advance. So we will have less waste, we will have less risk, and we will have better data to change the effort of the foresters for the decisions, for the to get insights, to think and to create a lot of different scenarios, because they will have more information, they will have more time to create different scenarios, thinking in plan B, C, D, E, and creating efficiency for their business, sustainability for their business in economical and environmental and in social point of view.
Yeah, yeah, no, very, very cool. And I love it. The precision forestry concept, it's being used for many years now. There was always precision agriculture, but maybe we will get there that truly the precision is there in the forestry.
Yeah.
Time will tell. So as we look to wind down, I always have one question, last question I always love to ask our guests, and it's really about uh, you've had a great journey by the sounds of it in business, entrepreneurship, and the business of forestry. Obviously, well respected and regarded as the leader of INFLOR. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a 125-person company and winning a great place to work 6 years in a row. But no journey straight. So when you think of your journey, if you were to impart or give a young Carlos or a young person that is coming through the ranks of forestry and technology, or just in general, are there any key tidbits of advice, business advice, life advice that you would give that younger Carlos, knowing what you know today? And if so, what would you share?
Yeah, I believe that one thing that nowadays I use it a lot, and in the beginning I believe the mindset of the company too. In the beginning, we always think that we need to create solutions and innovation by themselves, by ourselves. And we saw that bringing more people, more smart people, or more smart solution together and connect everything, we can create a ecosystem that it's quite faster than to create themselves. Then that everyone can uh, have this aggregated value in place, so the client will be uh, uh, will be I forgot the name right now in English, but they will he, he can I forgot the name, Kevin, but he will be glad or happier with the results because we will bring more aggregated value to the client, to the other solution that we connected to the system. This solution, we will have more clients to be tested or to be improved. So the ecosystem concept, it's higher than the solution alone. A connected platform, it's much richer than one solution only. So provide the ecosystem to the client, it's greater than provide one solution only. This is, but we can share the same concept for people being together with the right people, with the right partners, with the guys that can challenge you to create innovation, or that or to have a different vision and different skills and different experience. This is much more richer for the entire group can deliver a better solution or a better result for the client.
Mhm.
So this change of mindset to not be only you as a company, but to be much more than one company only, one thinking only, be truly a platform. It's we can use it for people, and we can use it for solution, and all the ecosystem gains with that concept.
Yeah, love it, love it. Love that idea of the platform and the ecosystem, and maybe not too far in the distant future, coming together of different players will be able to move that vision forward at a quicker pace. So, hey, Carlos, really appreciate the time you've given me in this conversation. And in 55 minutes, if there's only one instance you forgot a Portuguese to English word, I'm okay with that since I am at Duolingo level 4. So I still have a long way to go with my Portuguese. I can only say obrigado, Carlos, and yeah, love the conversation. So thinking for our listeners and viewers that may want to follow up to talk to you more about INFLOR and INFLOR's FMS and technology, what's the best way for people to reach you? Is it by email? Is it by LinkedIn or website? How should folks get a hold of you?
Yeah, our three major channels are our LinkedIn. We have the LinkedIn for InFloor. And of course, I'm always available by email to share. I love to share or to chat with everyone that is interested in not only in what we are doing, but to share challenges and to share experience. That it's always a way to increase the knowledge for both parties.
Great. And what's your email? I always love to put
My
people on the spot.
yeah, my email address is Carlos Carlos
At
at inflor.com.
there we go.
And our LinkedIn is inflor. In I just we had two in the beginning, but I believe it's just picking up here, Kevin. It's
Yeah.
LinkedIn. It's only INFLOR.
INFLOR. There you go. So
Exactly.
Carlos, Carlos at inflor.com, or find them on LinkedIn under INFLOR. So Carlos,
Exactly.
thanks so much. I really appreciate the time. Looking forward to seeing you somewhere in real life in the not so distant future. And until then, I wish you all the best and enjoy summer while I'm miserable in winter, and we will chat soon.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you for the
Okay.
opportunity to be together with you discussing
Okay.
about
Sounds good.
forests.
Okay. Take care, Carlos. Bye for
Take
now.
care. Bye.